All right, so right now I'm up here to talk about this problem with Brett Kavanaugh. He's supposed to be the United States Supreme Court judge, and his and the allegations that women have against him concerning rape or gang rape or acquaintance rape or what have you. And the what have you is relevant, of course. And especially the allegation, I think, of covering the woman's mouth. This happened in high school. But it happened, at a party. It's most unfortunate, it really is. But what is even more unfortunate is that women have felt it necessary to come forward at this time to prevent him from becoming the United States Supreme Court judge at this time in history where Kavanaugh and the senator and Donald J. Trump are planning, Trump especially, planning to, put into execution what do you call that? The mass arrests that QAnon has described, and sending them all to Guantanamo Bay, for their summary trials and executions. And now that this situation has come up, what seems most unfortunate is that grown women who may have dated Kavanaugh and had a bad experience of him in his earlier years are competing with the welfare of little children who are being mass murdered. So, and that is precisely what QAnon and the ITCCS are describing, and precisely what Trump is trying to bring politicians to justice for. And he's trying to bring politicians on both sides to justice. And this includes, international attempts against children. So we've got grown women, we've got basically Brett Kavanaugh's peers, competing with the well-being of tiny little children that are being mass murdered by Satanists, the satanic occult. Okay, and the satanic occult, or otherwise known as the Illuminati, have infiltrated every aspect of culture throughout the world. And essentially this cult religion is how the Nazis were formed. So, it seems to me to be a possible attempt to disrupt Donald Trump's plans for mass executions or mass imprisonment. And this mass imprisonment and mass executions need to take place. Because if these people, 45,000, there are 45,000 sealed indictments, possibly more, against the Illuminati, who are, many of them from Hollywood, from the Democratic Party, and there are sealed indictments against Republican officials too. And it's not just within the United States, but Trump's got sealed indictments against people in his own country first. And then it would extend outwardly to officials in the Vatican and elsewhere. anywhere and everywhere that children are being exploited uh, for blood sacrifices. And I believe he was going to go to bat with Canada next. So, I mean, children are being exploited for blood sacrifices in the Illuminati occult throughout the entire world. And Trump was going to go to bat against this. This is war. We are in an official state of war since 9/11. That hasn't gone away. And it's going on in our own country. Domestic violence, terrorism on a massive scale. So it seems to me conceivable that largely the Democrats are guilty of this. Republicans used to get the reputation, but there are sealed indictments against them too. And the Democrats are hugely guilty of this, as are the Hollywood CEOs. And, the actors are largely victims of MK Ultra, as are many politicians, by the way. So, as victims of MK Ultra, they may or may not know what they're doing, but regardless, we just studied about this last night at a Bible study because my choir rehearsal was canceled. So I went to the Bible study, and we were talking about why the character of God seemed to change from the Old Testament to the New. And when Jesus Christ revealed to us, when he was comparing himself and his character to, the expectation on his people in the Old Testament, there was a huge contrast. And he would say, Moses told you, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, but I'm telling you. And he would change the rule drastically. And I said, is it, doesn't it seem like Jesus is supposing we should have known this? We should have been able to figure this out. And he's kind of lifting the veil and clearing up the confusion. And they said, no, that basically Jesus Christ was a game changer. That the rule for the Old Testament is different than the rule for the New. And that the Lord's judgments against the people in the Old Testament were to purge the world and allow for his chosen people to establish law and order, to establish themselves in a new world. But it doesn't seem likely to me, so that the Lord was basically condoning genocide or mass killings, mass executions. And yet here I am, suggesting the same, is that Trump was planning all the mass arrests and possibly mass executions. So because we're in a declared state of war. And now it seems like this process of women competing with the welfare of young children who are being blood sacrificed just because, for women, grown women who had an unfair or undesirable dating experience with the men that they have chosen to date or associate with. It's not good that this happened, but there are things that are much, 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 much worse than this is going on presently. And I think that we shouldn't be selfish, and we need to refocus our energies on saving the children who are being raped and murdered on a massive scale. in the Old Testament, the Lord had told his Israelites to kill everyone and spare none, not even women and children, and to kill the animals as well. But the Israelites didn't do it, and and the Lord was angered with them because they spared the women and the children. So this is similar to, but the whole reason that the Lord wanted the genocide to happen against all the people of the world is, at the time, the known world, was because, they were sacrificing their children on altars and raping them and torturing them. And if the children had lived through that, they'd grow up to be, serial killers or monsters or something, right? Or victims of MK Ultra. And so that's the point that I started to make. So we're like trying to be, should we or should we not be compassionate toward victims of MK Ultra, because they were overexposed to this type of behavior as children growing up, and now they are, torturing other children and paying forward this diabolical behavior. So granted, the Democrats, and their WikiLeaks are demonstrating that they are very prone to the suggestion of what do you call that, trigger words, and that their trigger words are mutually exchanged, are triggering each other to get engaged into these horrific acts of blood sacrificing children, and torturing and mutilating children. So we have to follow through with rounding up these Democrats and Hollywood stars and Hollywood CEOs and other people involved with the Illuminati, CEOs and neo-Nazis throughout the world, and round them up and put them in the Guantanamo Bay prisons that Donald Trump is rebuilding for them, and also throw them into their own New World Order prison complexes that the globalists were creating for common citizens of the world, for whatever reason, probably to gas us all, and cause natural disasters upon us and their weather-controlled devices, while at the same time they were planning to go into underground bunkers. So we got to make sure that they're all rounded up and thrown into the prisons that they created for the rest of us. And these women who are coming forward and saying, oh, well, I didn't enjoy my dating experience with Brett Kavanaugh when I was in high school, and he's, 60 now? I don't know, how old is he, 50 or 60? Well, granted, I certainly can understand how these poor girls feel, but I just think that it's bad timing, because the Republicans, I don't want to say the Republicans, but a certain number of the Republicans had really important work to do in this new world war on terror.